We don't have that kind of violence here. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from small employers, but here's the real risk that small employers face. When most people hear workplace violence, they picture employee-on-employee incidents, an angry worker snapping, a disgruntled ex-employee coming back with a weapon, HR and security escorting someone out of the building. Small business owners look at their staff and they think to themselves, we don't have people like that here. We're a good group. We're fine. So they decide they don't really need a workplace violence prevention plan. That belief is one of the biggest reasons I've seen small employers end up in 6- or 7-figure lawsuits. Because in the real world, active shooters are only a tiny fraction of workplace violence incidents. A huge share of violence in and around small businesses involves third parties, customers and clients, patients and their family members, vendors and delivery drivers, people personally connected to your employees from outside of work. And when those people are harmed on your property during the course of your business, you're not looking at workers' comp. You're looking at civil court with all the financial and reputational risks that come with it. Look, your duty doesn't stop with employees. Under California law, if you invite people onto your premise to receive or provide services, you owe them a duty of care. That includes 1, customers in your store or office. 2, patients in your waiting room or treatment rooms. 3, clients in your conference room. 4, vendors making deliveries. 5, family or support people who accompany your clients or patients. During the 30 years I worked as an investigator, I worked on many cases where those invitees were attacked or seriously harmed on small business premises. My role was often to build cases against employers on behalf of those injured invitees, or to review internal investigations to see what employers knew and what they did or didn't do. I saw the same pattern over and over again. 1, early warning signs were ignored or minimized. 2, staff didn't know what they were allowed to do about problematic third parties. 3, there was no clear path for protecting invitees in reception areas, exam rooms, parking lots, or common areas. 4, when violence occurred, the employer's documentation and response made them look careless at best, but definitely not reasonable. And from a legal perspective, that's really a recipe for a bad outcome. Okay, so here's the real sources for workplace violence in small businesses. In my cases, the threats rarely came from a cartoon version of a dangerous employee. It came from a customer with a history of aggressive behavior toward staff and other customers, a patient's family member who escalated from verbal abuse to physical assault, an ex-partner who showed up repeatedly, making staff and invitees uncomfortable before finally attacking someone, a vendor or casual acquaintance who was allowed to hang around despite clear red flags. In many of those situations, staff had noticed the behavior, mentioned it to someone, sometimes even written a quick email or a note, but there was no consistent system to take it seriously. No one to assess the risk or act before it turned into a serious incident. And when the injured party was a customer, client, or patient, the employer found themselves defending why that person was still allowed on the property, why no additional safety measures were taken, why nobody connected the dots between earlier complaints and the final incident. So look, here's how California law raises the stakes for small employers. California's new workplace violence prevention requirements don't carve out a too small to matter category. If you have employees and have public or client access to your business, then the expectation is that you will have a workplace violence prevention plan that reflects your real risks, including third-party invitees, training for staff on threats, aggression, and violent behavior, from the public as well as from employees and coworkers, A way to report, document, and follow up on threats, near misses, and incidents. Internal investigations that are more than just checking a box. And that's true whether you have 5 employees or 500. Look, if you're not sure that you are prepared for this and that your workplace violence prevention plan actually addresses these types of things, why not get a free 15-minute snapshot call with me? Together we'll discuss whether your plan is addressing these types of things and what you need to do next to make sure that you're covered. Just click on the link in the description below. This is really important for you to understand. When a client, patient, or vendor is harmed, you're likely to head to civil court, where jury awards and settlements can easily reach 6 or 7 figures. Some insurers may not even cover intentional torts like battery, which workplace violence typically is. Your documentation or lack of it will be examined line by people like me. So here's what a responsible small employer plan for invitees should look like. You don't need a huge security department, but you do need a workable plan. At a minimum, that plan should include 1, front of house safety protocols. You want to do things like make sure your staff knows how to handle an escalating situation, not just with a bad guy, not just with a coworker, but with customers, clients, and patients. They should know how to reach out to someone else in your workplace if they notice that something is happening and they're worried that they can contain it. They should know how to ask someone to leave without making that person amp up and head towards violence. And they should know where to go and what to do should a situation escalate beyond their ability to control it, so that they can stay safe and keep others safe if that happens. Your staff should understand parking lot safety. Look, according to the FBI, parking lots are the 3rd most dangerous place there is. So, do you have a plan to make sure people know how to come and go from their cars safely? Do they know what to do if they recognize that someone is in there that should not be there? Do you even have something like the buddy system if you have an employee who's having a situation with someone from their private life who's begun stalking them, that they can get to their vehicle safely? 3, reporting and communication. Look, your employees need to be able to report incidents and to be able to report without retaliation. They should have a designated person in which to make the reports, and those should actually be in writing. Or if there is an ongoing concern, then they do need to be able to report to someone directly that says, I need your help right now. You also need clear expectations for those such as managers or others who your front staff will reach out to and say that they know exactly what to do and to make sure that they do it. And 4, you need documentation and follow-up. One of the things I used to see a lot as an investigator is how many times there were smaller incidents, or what I used to call a near miss, where it didn't quite develop into violence, but it got pretty close, that those weren't even documented. So you need a way to document those. Now, under California law, you should use your violent incident log. But those are things that you need to cover. You need to make sure that everything is documented. And you need to use that information to review it to make sure that if you need to make changes, that you have the data to point you in the right direction of those changes to make. You also should have a process in place if there is an incident to make sure that you can conduct an internal investigation that isn't just going through the motions, but will actually strive to get to the bottom of what took place, so that you have information that you can make decisions about, whether it's disciplinary decisions, whether it's decisions about increasing training, whether it's decisions about an entirely new safety hazard that you weren't previously aware of. But information is a tool, and an internal investigation is one of the best ways to make sure you get the quality level of information that you need to make those decisions. When you do those things consistently and document them well, you're not just doing the right thing. You're also giving your future self and any defense attorney something to work with if an incident occurs. So now I've got 3 questions that I want you to answer for yourself this week. To make this concrete, ask yourself, 1, if a client or customer was assaulted in your waiting area or parking lot tomorrow, what would your plan say you should have done? 2, could you show on paper that staff were trained on handling threatening or escalating behavior from members of the public? 3, if I reviewed your incident and near-miss records as a plaintiff side investigator, would your response look reasonable and consistent or scattered and reactive? If those questions make you uneasy, that's not a sign you've failed. It's a sign you're seeing your real risk more clearly. If you want a quick, honest read of where you stand, one of the reasons I shifted from building cases against employers to working with them is simple. I've seen too many situations where better planning and earlier action could have protected both people and businesses. That's why I offer a free 15-minute California workplace compliance and safety snapshot. In 15 minutes, we look at how you're handling risk to both employees and third-party invitees. Flag obvious gaps around early warning signs, near misses, and follow-up. And then I'll give you 1 or 2 practical steps to move toward being compliant and defensible under California's workplace violence requirements. If you'd like that quick expert read on your situation, book your free 15-minute snapshot. Just click on the link in the description below. And if you prefer email to a call, email me at mike@helpyoubesafe.com with a 15-minute compliance safety snapshot in the subject line and 1 or 2 lines about your organization, and I'll send you 3 quick questions to get you started.